right, back on Radio Row. It's Super Bowl 52. We got Stefon Diggs.
Hey.
Local hero. The people don't really line up for anyone else. They certainly don't line up for me. For you, it's a bit different.
Nah, man. They always show me a lot of love, especially when we're in the stadium. That's the most exciting. You can hear them. If you ever hear them do the skull clap and, like, just get ready on third down for our defense, you'll be amazed, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I walked outside a bit earlier. It's a bit chilly here.
Chilly?
Chilly.
That's the worst word to use.
Put it this way.
Freezing.
I came from Canada, and I had to fly north to get here.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
It's okay. I get you a jacket, man. You'll be all
Yeah,
right.
I could use a jacket. You're already giving me some Old Spice, too, so apparently I'm stinking up the joint.
I'm giving you a whole care package.
So what's going on with Old Spice and you?
This is my second time working with them. I'm introducing a new scent, premium scent. It's called New Captain, and it's part of their new red collection. So it's something affordable that you can wear day in and day out and not have to pay a high-end price.
Yeah, and it's the gel, too, which is nice. Because I don't like getting the white underneath my armpits. It sucks. So I got to ask you, we're like 2 weeks removed from it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of the biggest plays in NFL history?
Possibly.
Did you know that? I mean, obviously you saw no one was behind you. But, like, people are like, even the coaches are just like, run out of bounds, run out of bounds. Mm-hmm. But you had the wherewithal to know that no one was there.
Our coach told, my initial plan was to get out of bounds. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like this, let me just do what I'm told, but once I felt like a guy with, I was like this, I'm going to just take my chance. I don't know how it's going to work out, but it ended up working in my favor, so I was happy about it.
Well, you got to go for the glory.
Hey, always.
And now you got it for life.
Always go big or go home.
You basically pushed Jacoby Jones out of the conversation. No one's going to remember Jacoby Jones.
I remember that play. That was a good play.
I remember the play, too, but now you've overtaken that now.
Hey, man, I'm just, savoring that moment. I appreciate it more than anything.
So what do you look like going into next season? You guys have so much success this season, and now everyone wants your coaches. Everyone wants all the players. So, like,
everybody
trying to return the same team, is it going to be different?
It will. Every year is different, though. We always get a couple new guys or a couple new faces, and we're actually getting some guys back. DC will be – Delvin Cook will be back. We call him DC, but and a couple other guys. So it's just like we're going to work with what we got. We still have a lot of talent. We got a very young team, and we got a great season to build off of.
So, you come into the season, Sam's the starting quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
Case ends up coming in, Teddy comes back at some point, too.
Mm-hmm.
Is it weird working with 3 different quarterbacks, or are you on the same page with everybody?
I wouldn't say weird. This is more so you kind of got to get used to guys, and they got to get used to you. But, more so if you're where you need to be when you're supposed to be there, it'll be fine. It's just the small little tweaks that, you kind of got to work with or work through. And I think we handled it pretty well.
No, absolutely. You
just
handled it pretty well. We were at the media night last night. All the Eagles guys were there, and we were basically asking, like, do you feel bad that you robbed Minnesota of having the home game?
Not at all. I mean, they can't feel bad.
The punter felt kind of bad.
It's crazy. I mean, look, man, I can't even say nothing.
So what do you do during the offseason now? Like, obviously you're here. Yeah. So after this is over and your obligations are over, where do you go? L.A.? Arizona?
I travel a little bit, but more so I just be training. I don't really be doing too much. I just try to focus on, like, getting better and that type of thing. But
somewhere in the warm weather at least?
Gotta be warm. That's a mandatory.
So, do you do, like, training program from now to the start of training camp, or do you take any time just to let your body heal?
I'll take, like, a good week or so, but it's kind of like little stuff. I'll start back doing Pilates and stuff like that, stuff to, just kind of work my way back into getting back on the grind. But I got to do something. I can't sit on my tail. Well,
I would think if you sat around doing nothing, like, you would get not necessarily out of shape, but you wouldn't be able to harness everything that you wanted to do for, like, OTAs and training camps and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, for us, for guys in the NFL, OTAs and stuff, for some guys, they get in shape then. Some guys just chill the whole time. But, I mean, for me, I just kind of, like, I like to hit the ground running and build then rather than trying to, get in shape.
All right, between you and Adam, a lot of talk this year that you guys are the best wide receiver tandem in the league.
Yeah.
True or false?
I mean, I leave that for everybody else to decide.
A lot of people have weighed in.
For us, I feel like, Adam is definitely one of the best receivers in the game right now, whether he gets the respect or not.
He doesn't.
You can watch the tape and you can see him. You can see the plays that he's made, and and a lot of them are uncommon plays. Some guys, everybody doesn't make those plays that he makes. So he definitely gets my hat.
So how do you work off of him? Like, why do you guys complement each other so well, do you think?
Part of the relationship that we got, that's really like my brother, and the things that he does well, and the things that we constantly working at to kind of like, I'm trying to add to his game and he's trying to add to my game, and You know, it's a building process. We're still working now. It's a long ways to go. So I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
Do you have any insights? Case coming back or what?
I don't have any insight. You know, I gotta brief you guys next time I talk to you guys. I'll let you guys know.
So when you know, we'll know?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'll give you guys a heads up. I'll try to give you like a day early or something.
All right. Hit me up one more time about Old Spice.
Oh, well, I was like, this is my second time working with them. I'm introducing a new scent called New Captain. It's part of their new red collection that just dropped not too long ago. Go get it. You know, it's affordable and it's something to make you smell good every day.
All right, Stefon Diggs.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks for joining me on Radio Row.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
it. Appreciate your time, man. All right, Pat Mayo with DK Live. We'll be back in a bit. Stay tuned. Back on Radio Row from Super Bowl 52. Pat Mayo now sitting down with Chris Rose, a man of, you're the jack of all trades. Baseball, football, studio host.
Yeah, pretty fortunate to get to cover the two biggest events that we've got. You know, the World Series, the Super Bowl.
I thought you were going to say you cover the World Series of poker, the biggest event of all.
That's I did cover poker for a long time.
I
didn't get to the World Series of poker, but yeah, that was interesting stuff.
So when you do poker, do you do the commentary after, like they send you the footage?
Yeah, you can't.
Live poker seems like it would be a bit much.
It's tough because so many hands get thrown away.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even think live. I know they do it now, but for a while you couldn't see the whole cards when it was live. Like that was against regulation. Then they finally brought it in.
Yeah, you have to be able to, or else you're just kind of guessing.
Yeah.
That's not good.
I did want to ask you before we get into any Super Bowl related stuff. Broadcasting now, I've been doing this as like a running theme over the past 3 months. Like people keep asking me, like, how do you break in now to broadcasting? You went to broadcasting school?
Well, no, I went to school.
You got a communications degree.
I got an English journalism degree, yeah.
So how did that translate over into actual broadcasting?
Well, I mean, it lays the foundation for what you do. You know, there's so many different directions you can go with a journalism degree. But this is 25 years ago that I graduated. So it's changed significantly. For people that want to get into this and be in front of the camera or in front of a microphone, I tell them start doing podcasts right away.
Just get the reps?
It doesn't matter if mom and dad's the only one listening. You just have to be able to find your voice, to, get a comfort zone, get used to interviewing guests, and it can be any kind of guest. So that's the important stuff. You kind of have to develop your own personality and let that grow, and then you kind of go from there.
Do you think it's weird that so many people getting in now are just basically, even myself included, I'm not a journalist by any means, but like it seems like there's been a big shift away from real journalism, and now it's just people with takes?
Well, yeah, I think that comes and goes. I mean, there's important roles of journalism.
True.
We can see what's happened at one particular campus in the state of Michigan recently, and that does not get uncovered
without real journalism.
Without true journalism.
But it seems like the actual journalist, unless they have a big story to uncover, like the day-to-day stuff just seems, I don't want to say that the general public only wants to hear it when it's going down, when the story
but
breaks.
That's where we are. I mean, with social media, everybody can be a journalist because all they have to do is report what they see, or they say, hey, look, I just saw so-and-so at the mall, right? And then, word spreads quickly, and all of a sudden it's on social media all over the place, and that's just where we are. I don't begrudge it. You just have to adapt with the times. That's all.
I guess so. I guess filtering it all out makes it far more difficult.
Right. But it's up to you to figure out what's important and what's not important.
Listen, if you start leaving it into the hands of everyone, they're just going to believe the first thing that they read and only read a headline. That's all that happens now.
But that's the shame on them then.
Yeah,
if they don't want to dig a little deeper into something that's just surface material. Nah.
So what are you seeing from the two teams so far? I found when I was talking to the Patriots, I found them kind of tight. You said they were kind of loose.
I thought they were exceptionally loose. I mean, I've been doing this for the last 3 Patriots Super Bowls. I think they seem good. They're enjoying themselves. I thought Brady was great yesterday. I thought Belichick was pretty good.
Belichick was surprisingly smiley.
Yeah, he was.
Not expecting that.
So last year, Willie McGinnis, who, of course, won 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots and Bill Belichick, always gets a one-on-one interview with him. And last year I challenged him. I said, I set the over-under at like 5 or something smiles during your one-on-one time. He got to 6. And then last night we had a little Belichick smileometer that would pop up on the screen every time he smiled, and I think he got to 8 or 9.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, if they get back next year to the Patriots Invitational, that's going to be a tough number to top.
You can shoot for double digits on that one. He's going to be happy with 9th Super Bowl in 15 years.
It's unreal.
It seems
unbelievable what's going on there.
They had a game ball here earlier from last year, the second half game football, some auctioneer. It was pretty inflated. I was kind of surprised. I think that was like an after-the-fact thing.
Oh, stop it.
Well, this is what we have to do now. I mean, it's just no fun talking. Hey, the Patriots are really good. They make the Super Bowl every year. You got to pick it apart somewhere, don't you?
I mean, how about last year they came back from 25 down against a really good football team?
Yeah, but only people in New England wanted to see them win. It would be more fun if Atlanta had come back and beat them.
Yeah, I guess so from a football standpoint. And I understand it, that we get sick of superiority, like greatness. And it's why I really believe that Brady's a little bit underrated, to be honest with you.
I had Andy Benoit on a bit earlier, and he was kind of talking about that. Even if Brady loses the Super Bowl, it doesn't really affect anything. I mean, how hard is it to make Super Bowls? You look over the course of time. He's there every second year.
It's unreal. I mean, he's had 16 healthy seasons, right, because he got knocked out in the season opener in 2008, and he's made the Super Bowl in half of them.
Still not as good as Jimmy G, though. Jimmy G, 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years. That's not bad.
Jimmy G's had a good life till now, and I think he's going to be really good. I was disappointed that my Browns did not make a stronger play for him.
Oh, your poor Browns, man.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I root for the Bills. It's a tough sledding.
It's funny because everybody goes, oh, God, like this year, a heartbreaking loss when they were up 21-7 against the Packers in the fourth quarter. Like, how do you keep doing it? I was like, listen, Cleveland sports fans are like 90% scar tissue to begin with. And then I said, I grew up in the 80s. I was a teenager when they were, I was at the drive by John Elway, watched the fumble. We missed out on in the AFC Championship 3 times in 4 years. Like, those are the ones that stick with you. It's not blowing a 14-point fourth quarter lead when you're 0 on the season anyway against the Packers in December. Like, that's not it.
Well, I got into a conversation with a Vikings fan, one of my best friends, Vikings fan, and he was devastated after they lost to the Eagles. He was on the all-time greatest high, then he went to the all-time greatest low the next week. And being a Bills fan, like, the Bills are just terrible every single year. Like, you just kind of get used to it.
Well, then, no, they're not terrible. Well, they're mediocre.
They made the playoff. Well, they're the kings of the team that's trying to tank, and they end up going 7-9 and getting a terrible draft pick.
Well, that's not. I don't think they've tried to tank. I think that they've just been
They traded all their good players before the season. Somehow they ended up better. Or at least
but then maybe they weren't that great. I mean, really, the only guy you'd look at is Robert Woods, where they let him go and he shined. I mean, Sammy Watkins still hasn't found his footing.
Woods was better than Watkins this year.
Significantly better.
And like the whole thing with Buffalo was always just like, oh, Robert Woods is such an excellent outside blocker. That's where his real value is. Turns out the guy can catch and is really good.
Well, he's a route runner. That's what he is. So he can block and he can run routes. And that's in a Sean McVay system. The problem is they haven't had the right guys, knowing how to utilize the talent up there.
But the whole point was just like they've been mediocre, but they've never really come close to winning anything since the 4 straight Super Bowls. So not really.
Right.
When I was a kid, that happened. That's how I become a Bills fan.
I was at one of the Bills' all-time great playoff games. It was a loss 34-31 against the Browns. Was it 34-31 or 34-30? The game where Ronnie Harmon dropped the touchdown. This is in the 89 season. He had us beat with 20 seconds to go. He's in the corner of the end zone. The ball goes right off his hands. Next play, Clay Matthews picks off Jim Kelly right across the middle at the goal line. It was an amazing game and really actually enjoyable because a ton of fans from Buffalo drove down, and people from Buffalo and Cleveland are the same. We're just separated by Lake Erie, that's all. And it was a really enjoyable sporting event and memorable for me. Probably not so much for the Bills fans.
So is it worse to be a Bills and Browns fan, or is it worse being a Vikings fan who come close and then they just get it ripped away from them? They're right on the precipice.
I still want to get there.
You want to get there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a Cleveland fan through and through.
We got the Cavs now.
Yeah, well, the Cavs are the team dysfunction, but more along the lines of the Indians, who haven't won it in my lifetime and haven't won it since '48, so they now have the longest drought in that sport. And in 2016, up 3-1 against the Cubs, but I knew that was going to slip away a little bit because the pitching matchups didn't favor us in games 5 and 6. I actually flew my family out on game 6. My oldest son was turning 16 that day, and both my boys are diehard Cleveland fans. Like, we were ready. It was all lined up, and then we lose the last 2 games at home. And that game 7 where Rajai Davis takes Chapman deep, you'll have those forever. And we're walking out of the stadium. My youngest son, who at the time was 10, he turned to me and he goes, "Dad, I'm bummed." He goes, "But at least we saw it together." And I'm like, "Oh, God, now you're really going to make me cry. Do not do this, Brady. Don't do it."
What do you got coming this week?
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Super Bowl Prime. That's our usual Sunday show. We're just taking it on the road and expanding it. Guest heavy. It'll be fun with Dion and LT, and that's coming your way at 9 o'clock Eastern on those 3 nights. Saturday, probably my most favorite assignment of the week. Right after the Hall of Famers get announced at NFL Honors, I get to interview them. And it's a life-changing moment for these 5 guys that are going to get in. And it's going to be awesome. I love doing that every year. And then another life-changing moment for another group of people happens Sunday, and right after the game's over, we'll be live on the field for 2 hours of coverage, and I can't wait. It's really fun.
We'll take some time off before baseball starts after the Super Bowl.
Well, I will be flying out Monday morning on a 6:45 flight back to Los Angeles, and I will be on Intentional Talk later that day.
You're a hardworking man.
I love it. I'm pretty fortunate.
That's true.
So it's not bad.
Chris Rose, thanks for coming by, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Go Bills.
Yeah, and go Browns. Stay tuned to DK Live all the way on Radio Row throughout the week. Live interviews coming at you. Download the DK Live app or check out the YouTube page up on DraftKings, all right? See ya. Back on Radio Row for Super Bowl 52. Pat Mayo now joined by Road Warrior Animal.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. You got a new podcast? What a Rush Pod.
Yeah, my old What a Rush podcast. It's crazy great. It's grown by like thousands of listeners per week. And it's a fun thing. It's kind of a different handle for me because now I'm one-on-one with the fan.
Well, how do you like doing the podcast?
I love doing it, man. One thing I learned quick in the sports entertainment world is that your fans are your bread and butter, right? So now it's time to give back to your fan and to have a good time doing it. And I love it, man. I love rehashing some of the most prestigious events in our history, the SummerSlams, the Wembley Stadiums with 90,000 people, and the Budokans in Japan, a lot of the great places I got to go wrestle, Kuwait, and go to Camp Doha and be able to train over there and to be able to discuss all this stuff with guys that were in the service and say, hey, I remember meeting you over in Kuwait City. You came in the workout facility in the Camp Doha in Kuwait, and you gain great access to things that a lot of normal people I say can't get access to, man. You really appreciate it, and it's a fun thing. And I get to interview guys, my buddies. Smash Demolition. I just had an interview with him last week, and Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, that was with WWE, and The Godfather, and stuff like that. So we got some good ones planned in the future with Ric Flair and everything else. So it's a fun deal.
Did you watch the Ric Flair 30 for 30?
I was on it.
I know you were in it, but did you actually sit down and if you're in it, I feel like it'd be hard to sit down and watch it. Or were you like, hey, this is great?
I actually caught it, but to be quite honest with you, I pretty much lived it. I hate to say that, man. I was with Flair when Flair would show up at the bar and say, bartender, give me 30 kamikazes, 15 for my buddy Animal here and 15 for me. And I'm going, Flair, those are shooters. They can't sit there long. And you'd have to go bam, 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 one after another. And then, half hour later, 45 minutes, you're going, who hit me in the head with the sledgehammer because they're kicking in, right? But, yeah, man, that was Flair, man. That was a lifestyle, and it was crazy. It's hard to believe when you had both companies one time and, you had the NWA and WWE on the top of the game. We would go to Philly or whatever and go to the Civic Center in Philly. We're selling out 20,000 people. WWE would be on the Spectrum. They're selling out. And then all the guys would get together after the show. Come on, forget about it. That was like the biggest class reunion you could ever have.
So there was crossover if you guys ever did meet. It wasn't like, hey, let's stay away.
And you know what? The great thing about the wrestling business is kind of like the NFL in a way. It's a giant fraternity. Once you get in that fraternity, man, you respect everybody because your bread and butter is with the guy you are wrestling in the ring with. You're only as good as that guy. If that guy has a bad night or he kind of stinks, per se, or we say in wrestling, he sucks, you're going to be horrible as well, so that's just the way it is.
So when you're working on the road, you're always, you're powerlifting, you're, according to this, this is ridiculous that you benched 610 pounds.
Yeah, I was kidding with one of the guys that does the promotions with me. It's actually 640, but I'm not going to get into that.
Oh, so okay.
Anything over 600, you're achieving something. But yeah, man, listen, I got a buddy of mine, Scott Norton, that was with the NWO, with WCW.
Big in Japan.
Yeah, bro. He was a 765 bencher. 765.
But if you're working 300 days a year and traveling around, when do you get time to work out?
That was the amazing thing about it, man. I didn't bench over 600 pounds until about 8 years into wrestling. And I figured it out the other day. Smash and I sat down and figured it out. Over 6,000 matches I've had in my career, right? Over a 22-year career. So if you could picture that, and then figured how are you going to work. I don't know how I did it and stayed healthy. Thank God, I'll tell you this right now, that I was the thrower and not the guy getting thrown, because I've had 14 surgeries. I've had my, I've had both shoulders done twice, elbows done, knee done, broke my back. Rick Steiner broke my neck in Japan. I've not gotten it ever fixed yet because I don't feel like moving my esophagus over and fixing my neck. But, we've gone through some injuries, but for the most part, I'm walking normal. I feel normal. I can move around, so I'm good.
So when you finish up and you're always trying to be in shape, be as big as possible, is there like a weird downtime after you basically retire and go into like regular life of like trying to keep weight off, that kind of thing?
Well, I don't know if there is a regular life, especially when you're in my gimmick, because I have to, I'm down in weight now. I'm only about 270, but I say only 270, right? Like you're a small guy, but when I was 310, 315, you're talking, 50 pounds of weight off of me, and 50 pounds of muscle. I had to burn 50 pounds of muscle to get it off. I mean, I did nothing but aerobics like for 3 years to get that weight off of me. And, your training mentality stops. I've gone into giant setting and super setting, which I really wish I would have learned years ago. I probably wouldn't have had 14 surgeries on it, because a lot of my liftings, I used to do stupid behind the neck presses with 405 pounds. And, because I wanted to be able to press land big guys over my head, Guys like Jerry Blackwell, who I almost pressed over my head, was 450 pounds. So it's that aspect, I had to be that, but I don't need to be that anymore. And there isn't kind of a downtime because I'm always busy on the road. I do Comic-Cons all over the world. People always contact me to do personal appearances, Comic-Cons. I put on the face paint still. I bring my spiked shoulder pads. People put them on for pictures. It's great for the fans because they get to be a part of me and put on the stuff. So, man, it's a great experience. So I really don't ever have any downtime when I'm doing it.
So when you did the regionals coming up before basically WWF and NWA, how, like I see it now, and WWE is just basically a monopoly on everything. Mm-hmm. So in the regional scenes just seems so weirdly, they're just independent spots now.
Yeah.
And, you might get 20 people out at some, you might get 200, you might get 1,000 if you're lucky. How has that really shaped wrestling now? Because it seemed like before you could go to Georgia and work in Georgia, or you could go to Texas and work in Texas, build your character, do all that. Can you even do that as a young guy anymore?
No, and I think that's why you see that the ratings, not the ratings per se, well, yeah, the ratings, because we used to go into 20 million homes. Now we go into 2 million. And I think that is because there is one company. That's not a dig on the WWE, but that's just the way the business has evolved. No different than the AFC and NFC. You know what I mean?
You need the competition.
You need the competition, and competition creates cash. That was always our slogan. Competition creates cash. But the good thing, what people really need to realize, and the local fans listening, they need to go support their indie company. You will find some phenomenal stars and wrestlers in the indie scene. I go around to a lot of the indie scenes, and I see them all the time. And you're right. You'll get sometimes 250 people, and because most of the ones that I go to are, you get 500, pretty much the minimum that will show up. But I get to go there. I get to talk to some good fans. I give seminars to their local school, and I do stuff like that. And so they are growing and fast. And there's other companies like New Japan coming in. New Japan is tearing it up down the West Coast. Now they're on Fight TV. They're getting on a regular station now. They're going to be a regular program for wrestling. You got Ring of Honor's got their own station. You got the Lucha Libre station they're on now too. Man, the Mexican wrestling is on. So there's a lot of stations that are growing, and you're going to see someday. There's a company in Las Vegas called Revolution that's getting ready to start up, which is going to start signing some guys to some contracts once they get their TV deal worked out. So it's pretty crazy, and you're going to see it. You need to have 2 or 3 companies. That was one of the great achievements for Hawk and I, is when we finally won the WWF titles, right? That was like we won the last of the big 4. We were AWA, NWA, Georgia Championship. Now we won WWF, and we did it in a great place like Madison Square Garden. Are you kidding me? Those people came unglued, and they were the rowdiest crowd we wrestled in front of, and it was freaking awesome, man. It was almost like the closest thing to winning a Super Bowl for me. I kid around a lot of times. I said, man, one thing, because of the fans, man, without great fans, you're not a great athlete, no matter who you are or what sport you're in. But a lot of people, call us the Hulk Hogan of tag teams. We're the Tom Brady of wrestling. you know, which is cool for me. What? You put me in the same sentence as Tom Brady? Are you kidding me? I love it, man. It's great.
All right, you can get at Joe on Twitter at RWAnimal and follow the podcast at What a Rush Pod. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for having me here on DK Live. Man.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, thanks a lot.
What a rush.
Back on Radio Row, Super Bowl 52, Pat Mayo, Tim Endicott, and Andy Benoit of Sports Illustrated and Monday Morning Quarterback. What's going on, dude?
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing the whole thing?
Yeah, it's my first Radio Row tour. I love it. It's great. We didn't schedule a bathroom break though.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's only gonna get worse.
I am actively now praying that every guest is like 10 minutes late so I can pop out, use the bathroom, pop back in. Drinking like 20 coffee this morning was not a great idea.
Yeah, well, my voice is starting to get a little bit rough, and so I'm going to just keep drinking water, but it's Super Bowl time. You got to dig deep with you here.
Yeah, you really have to get in the trenches and make sure your voice can overcome.
Yes.
You got some podium questions to ask, I'm sure, post-game. How many games is this for you now?
Super Bowls?
Yeah.
This is my fifth in 7 years. I wasn't at last year's, and I didn't realize I chose a Senior Bowl over the Super Bowl, which is the responsible thing to do because I meet with coaches when I'm there. But I didn't realize how much I missed it until the game started, and then I thought, well, I hope it's a forgettable game and I'll be fine. So at halftime, I was chipper. I was all happy again. I didn't talk the first half, and then Robert Alford gets his pick six, and oh, good, no one's going to remember this. And I saw the slow oncoming train at around 28-11, maybe even 28-12, whatever it was, and that was a tough day. So I'm glad to be here. It's a nice life, right? If your toughest day is missing the Super Bowl live, I'm glad to be here this year, though.
So what's the best part about covering it? Like you say, and after the game, going to the winning team's locker room. What about the losing team's locker room?
I've never been in one.
Probably a good idea.
Because I'm very analytical, and I want to hear about what happened in the game. Like, actually, what's the game plan? What was the reason for this? And players, naturally, they're hesitant to say that. In the Super Bowl, right after they win it, they're never hesitant to say that. They feel like they're on top of the world. They don't have a game next week, nothing to hide now, and you get everything from those. With the right asked questions, you get everything. And I've had some really great conversations in Super Bowl winning locker rooms. That's my favorite part of the week.
So we were talking to the Patriots at Media Night last night, and we were talking to the Eagles players. Patriots players, well coached on to not say anything. Eagles players, pumped to be here.
And I had that experience as well. I talked to the Patriots coaches, who I don't know any of them because they don't respond to I know these guys off the field away from the game, and those guys don't even respond to that. Philadelphia's coaches are great, and I had wonderful conversations with them. If you think about it, this isn't in my best interest to say, but what's the advantage for the players or coaches in any of these teams to say anything of substance? That's not going to help in the game at all, and it might detract.
Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, there is a joie de vivre about being at the Super Bowl and having some fun.
Sure.
That I think is lost when you sort of button down and get a little too cloistered and you sort of take away some of the joy from the guys. Maybe it's their first trip and maybe they'll never get back. And
it's I mean, each coach has his own philosophy on that, and in Philadelphia, I guess the assumption is, well, we just did this. We just did this. So, but
sure.
No, I hear you.
So what do you think about the game?
I think the obvious part of the game, because I think we can all agree New England's probably the better team, especially given the quarterback situations for both sides now. Where Philadelphia has an irrefutable advantage is along their defensive line. And New England knows that. New England's offensive line cannot block Philly's defensive line if we're just playing head-to-head. So the question becomes, what do we do about it? How do we on both sides, how do we game plan for it and around it? And New England has to find a way to schematically remove the defensive line from the equation.
Well, can't they do that? I mean, a lot of their offense is just predicated on these like short passes, quick passes, and if you can get it out 2 seconds or less, I mean, the defensive line can't really do anything.
And I think that's what we're going to see. And it's been interesting because for the longest time, that was the offense. And they threw it to Julian Edelman, was a dominant force in that. And he's a great player, and they miss him. They became last season, around midway through, they became more of a vertical offense. They were throwing downfield. Chris Hogan running vertical routes, and then they decided to invest in that. They go out and trade for Brandon Cooks this year, acquire him from the Saints. And Rob Gronkowski's great down the seams vertically. And we've seen this more balanced run-pass Patriot offense where the running game is setting up a downfield passing game. And that's how they played. And Tom Brady has been great late in the down from the pocket, which is incredible because that's hard to do. You don't get a clean platform to throw from. Now we're talking about a lot of arm strength involved. You take more hits naturally. And at age 40, he has done all those physical things. That's how they've been. But in the divisional round game against Tennessee, where they felt those linebackers could not cover, they went back to the spread Patriots, like you described. Balls out quickly, balls out right away. And that's a whole different brand of football, and usually you have to be one or the other. And they showed that in the flow of a game and the fly, they can be both. And it's James White, it's Danny Amendola winning the game for you underneath passing. And I think we will see that. The more I've thought about this matchup, I think that's how they're going to go against Philadelphia because of what you said. That eliminates the defensive line from the equation. And so Philadelphia's response is we have to get physical with our cornerbacks and our jamming safeties and linebackers. We have to take away their timing underneath and make Brady hold the ball on those quicker dropbacks and allow the defensive line to win some one-on-one matchups. That's the chess match involved.
What do you think from the Philly side? I mean, Nick Foles looked pretty damn good against Minnesota. And well, the Patriots' defense has been getting better throughout the course of the season. It's not as good as the Vikings' defense is going to be.
It's not. No. I think they match up well. I thought the Vikings matched up well. I mean, if Nick Foles does what he did in the championship, which is also make plays late in the down, which is not at all he's never done that. He looked like Carson Wentz in that game. It was unbelievable.
He played a perfect game.
He did, and it was not just that the numbers were good, the results were good. The process was remarkable. Right. I never thought we'd see that from Foles, and he deserves immense credit for that. If they get that, this is a great Super Bowl. It's an unbelievable Super Bowl.
It seems to me that Philadelphia resembles a better version of the Jaguars from 2 weeks ago. An amazing defense, an offense that's got some questions, particularly at the quarterback position, but can run the ball. And if it wasn't for a couple of quick whistles and a couple of ugly penalties, Jacksonville's here and the Patriots aren't. So isn't New England going to have their hands full with a Philadelphia team that's better than Jacksonville, a team that they went to the wire with and are fortunate to be here?
Possibly. I think they can. I would say I would disagree on the Jacksonville side. They're very similar defenses, approach-wise, and I think Philly does have the better defensive line. I agree with you. I would probably say Jacksonville's the better back seven of those two. But what you're saying, yes, it's a running team that plays a lot of zone coverage, and they're very good at it. It's an expansive running game from Philadelphia, too. Jacksonville, it's a lot of inside zone, just double teams, run behind it. Philadelphia, you get that. You get pull blocking and what they call gap scheme runs. You get outside zone. You get trap plays and misdirection. There's a lot they present to you. In New England, they're a very fundamentally sound defense, and it's going to be a challenge. And that's where it's going to start. They're going to take away that running game like they did Jacksonville's running game in the second half, and I think they're going to try to make Nick Foles beat them. They're going to believe that, hey, we're playing Nick Foles of all the other games, not the Nick Foles that we saw last week.
So we wake up Monday morning, Philadelphia's won. How did it happen?
It happened, their defensive line dominated the game, and which probably means their secondary did some things. That stuff always works in unison. Their running game controlled the flow and probably kept New England to 65 snaps or fewer. And Nick Foles didn't turn it over. Okay. That's how it happens. And even if all those things happen, that doesn't mean they'll win the game. This is an uphill battle for them. But if they win, that's how how I think it would happen.
So win or lose with Philly, what happens to Nick Foles going into next? Like even if they lose this game, and let's say he doesn't play particularly great, it seems like he's going to get a shot somewhere now. Like is he
possibly?
Is he going to get like $100 million from someone? Or the
I
Jets going to be like, here, Nick Foles, have $100 million.
I would be surprised if it went that far. There will probably be someone that thinks it's worth rolling the dice with him. We've been in this situation before. Nick Foles was great in 2013. Different style of great. He wasn't making plays late in the down. He was in an offense that happened to function really well for a long stretch, and he did his job. He didn't ultimately become a starter from that. He's a high-level backup, and that's what his physical traits are. And we have found there's some value in that. I mean, look where we are. But will a team think, hey, we can take that high-level backup, and we're the ones that can get more out of it? It's us, our coaches. There's always someone that thinks that. So he'll be an interesting watch whenever he becomes available on the market again.
So no turnovers, run the ball, control the clock. That's Philly's path to success.
That's part of their path to success. Yeah, because I don't think their wide receivers match up very well with New England's corners, and that's an issue. And so it's about playing in the middle of the field, running the ball in the middle of the field, throwing to Zach Ertz and guys in the middle of the field.
All right, Andy Benoit, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
Pleasure.
Pat Mayo, Andy, for Tim, live on Radio Row. We're DK Live. Stay tuned all day for more updates. Back on Super Bowl 52 Radio Row, the DK Live set. Pat Mayo talking to Judy Battista of NFL Network. How many Super Bowls have you covered now?
I think this is 18 for me.
So,
18.
And where were you at before NFL Network?
I was at the New York Times for almost 10.
So you had to get out
15 years.
because I've heard it's failing. So
Yeah.
you have to abandon ship.
It's not failing. Let me just say that.
So what is the access like differently when you're at NFL Network as opposed to not the NFL Network?
Actually, it's kind of the same.
Really?
Yeah, it's not appreciably different. Like, we're not getting, like, I know people think we're getting some sort of
I think you're getting the
secret
inside
action.
scoop.
No, we're not. I can vouch for that. We are not getting any sort of special dispensation.
So if you've been doing this for almost 2 decades now, coming to the Super Bowl, what's really changed in terms of like the media? Because I know I've talked, it's my first Super Bowl coming here on Radio Row, and people are already disjointed that the Radio Row is here, and there's sets over here, and there's Sirius downstairs. Like, how do you get people shuttled between the sets without getting the mob? Like, what's changed markedly, really, over the past 18 years?
Well, Radio Row is a lot bigger, certainly, than it was at the beginning. There's a lot more international media, I think. There's a lot more. Look, it used to be mostly newspapers and television stations. There's a lot more online presence, no surprise. It's just bigger. Like, everything's bigger. That's just the biggest change. Is there's more television stations, there's more radio, there's more everything.
Do you find that the players are more used to the just abrasive media coming at them now? Like, even on Media Night last night, it seemed like they were all pretty well prepared.
Well, that's what I think is different. I think they're prepped much better. I think teams have gotten really smart in preparing guys for what to expect. Like, they're sort of at the media day kind of thing. They're told to be ready for the unexpected and sort of the weird, quirky people in costumes kind of thing. But I think they just get more practice at it. I think teams are a lot savvier about getting players ready for that kind of thing.
Well, the Patriots in general were pretty politician-y answers.
Yeah, and they're used to it, let's be honest. I mean, first of all, that's their attitude anyway. They're very careful with the media. But, I mean, this is this group's 8th Super Bowl, right? I mean, with Belichick. So they're used to the drill. They know exactly what's coming.
So what are you seeing from the game so far? Like, we're now less than a week out. Everyone has, like, the first week, the Pro Bowl week, the off week to kind of make their hot takes. Oh, the Eagles' defense is impenetrable. No way Tom Brady can do anything. And then it's, oh, well, Tom Brady always wins these as long as he's not playing the Giants. There's no way the Patriots lose. So where is the narrative shifted to now?
Well, I think the first part of the narrative is news, and that is, like, what's going on with Rob Gronkowski? Is he going to be cleared? He's still in the concussion protocol, even though he's been practicing. He hasn't been cleared by the doctors yet. So that's the sort of big thing. Until he's cleared, everything hinges on that. But look, I do think that the Eagles' defense is a fair topic because they're really good. And, historically we've seen great defenses that can pressure the quarterback have given Brady trouble. It's not just the Giants, against the Jaguars. The Jaguars had it going there for a little while. I think that's a storyline that everybody's going to be paying attention to on Sunday is, can that defense rattle Brady? Can they get to him consistently with pressure? Can the secondary hold up, especially if Gronk's on the field when you have Gronk and Brandon Cooks and Amendola out there? Can they run the ball? Can the Patriots run the ball? We've seen them do that in past postseason games to great effect, including the Super Bowl last year. Can they get the running game going against the Eagles? So those are, I think, the storylines. Brady is obviously the overarching figure, right? I mean, we all look at Brady and we all want to see what he does. He's 40. I mean, he's playing at an absurd level. You have to keep reminding yourself he's 40. But, I do think there are sort of second-tier storylines that maybe you get off Brady for just a second and look at those other things.
What do you think this is worth to Nick Foles? If the Eagles can win this game and he plays well, let's say he walks away with Super Bowl MVP, is it like tens of millions of dollars for him?
Well, he's under contract to the Eagles, who I think, would have an interesting decision to make, right? I mean, if a team comes along and says, like, we really want Nick Foles, what do you want for him?
Do you think anyone says that, though?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? who knows? Like, every year there is a crazy shortage of quarterbacks, right? And there is always an abundance of teams needing them desperately. Does that mean Nick Foles' value goes up? I don't know. I mean, look, Carson Wentz is clearly. Somebody just asked me, like, would there ever be a quarterback controversy?
There can't
I'm like,
be.
no. No, the other guy is a first-round draft pick. No, and he would have been the MVP of the league if he hadn't gotten hurt. So there's no quarterback controversy there. I think it's just a really great situation for the Eagles, who must be really, really happy that they have Nick Foles under contract.
Well, I mean, they got a first-round pick for Bradford.
Sure.
Imagine getting a first-round pick for Foles. Imagine that.
I don't know.
Imagine that 12
Well,
months
first of all,
before.
you're probably not doing that because you don't know when Wentz is going to be ready, right? I mean, he's sort of right on the line. Would he be ready for the start of the season? So you're not getting rid of Nick Foles anytime soon.
But even if the value was even that high, I mean, if you let Nick Foles play 3 games during the season, let's say Wentz isn't back, maybe it kills his value right away.
Yeah.
So you almost have to cash it in and just go sign someone else.
I don't know that they're going to do that. I don't know. I guess we'll see, and I'm curious to see, like, how much this game would influence it. He played a great game in the NFC Championship game, but look, he had some shaky performances when he first stepped in for Wentz. So let's see what we
temper
get
expectations a little
yeah,
bit.
before we've got teams giving up 3 number ones for him. Let's calm down.
Well, maybe the Patriots can ship if Brady ends up. Let's say if Brady wins and he retires,
Right.
they can send San Francisco's second-round pick
Right.
to Philadelphia for Nick Foles. Seems like a fair deal.
I don't think that's happening.
No, probably not. What do you got going on this week?
Writing some stories about James Harrison.
And his awesome workout?
And his crazy workout, and crazy that he's a Patriot now, kind of
I know.
bizarre. After all these years covering him in the Steelers, I wrote about Danny Amendola today. And then I'm going to write about the dynasty and how dynasties come to an end.
Are dynasties good or bad for each sport? Because people were complaining about the NBA Finals last year. The Warriors were, Warriors,
I think
Cavs
they're
again.
good.
But
No.
then they rated out of the roof. That's all people wanted to see.
I think they're good because I think you either love them or you loathe them, but it gives everybody something to shoot for. Look, I like to watch athletes in any sport playing at the highest level. I like to watch great players be great. Look, you may get tired. There may be some Patriots fatigue. But, like, you've got to appreciate what they're doing.
And eventually everyone's just going to root for them to crumble down. And
well, but when they're gone, I think the league's going to miss it because you watch them because you're either awed by what they're doing or you can't stand them, but you're watching.
This is true. Judy Battista, thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure.
All right,
Thanks.
that'll do it on the DK Live set for Super Bowl 52 Radio Row for Tuesday. Check us back throughout the week live on all streaming platforms. Pat Mayo, I'll see you then. Back on Radio Row from Super Bowl 52. Now joining us on the DK Live set, we have IBF Super Middleweight Champion of the World, Caleb Truax. What's going on, dude?
Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us. You got the belt.
Yeah, man, I had to bring it with.
And as you told us before we came on, that they send you this in the mail. You don't just get free from the ring. I didn't know that.
Neither did I. I was kind of shocked and kind of mad when they tried to take it away from me in the ring. I said, "This is mine, man. I just won it."
So is it weird? Like, let's say your opponent, you beat him. You have to give him the belt back when he leaves. Is it weird just to have the belt? Like, did you have to give it to a manager? Or is it like he take it out with him? You're like, well, this is weird.
So I had won 3 belts prior, and they were all vacant belts. So whoever won that night got to take it with him. So that's how I thought it worked, And the IBF coordinator was in the ring, and he's the one that oversees the fight. And I'm taking pictures with the belt afterwards. He handed it to me, and then he comes up and tries to grab it. Like, all right, we got to give it back to him. I said, "This is mine, man. I just won. What are you talking about?" And they mailed it out a couple weeks later. So
everyone says, I get the write-up. Everyone's coming through. They're calling this an upset win. So when you go into the fight, do you feel like you're an underdog, or you're just like, I'm going to win this? Don't worry about it.
I mean, it's obviously there's odds makers and all that stuff.
Are you aware of that stuff going in? Like, do people
yeah,
tell you?
like my buddies were sending me clips, like the bet slips that they got, the odds on me, and I wish I would have bet on myself. I would have known some of the money that was. I think it was 35-1 that somebody got that I know,
serious?
and 41-1. It was like almost the same as Buster Douglas versus Tyson, and they were saying it was one of the biggest upsets in British boxing history. But doesn't feel like an upset to me. I knew I was going to beat him and was confident, and like I said, I wish I would have put some money on myself.
So you're going around Radio Row doing all this.
Yeah,
you're a Minnesota guy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you bummed the Vikings aren't here?
You know, I'm a Steelers fan. I'm bummed the Steelers aren't here. I wish the Vikings would have been playing the Steelers, but yeah, after the Steelers were out, I was hoping the Vikings made it.
So you can just hate on the Patriots then either way.
Yeah, I'll probably hate it.
Ruining it for you.
You know, I was hating on Jacksonville. I did an interview with Jacksonville press over there, and I didn't want to do it at first because they beat my Steelers. But
okay, so I wanted to ask you now. I grew up loving the sport, loving boxing. I watched it when I was young. I have a passion for it, and I'm concerned that, particularly with the advent and this growth of mixed martial arts, that boxing is sort of in a decline. I'm concerned about that. And I know you're a thoughtful guy. You have a degree in poli-sci. I have a degree in poli-sci, so I'm sympathetic. Have you thought about this? What sort of things should the boxing community be getting into, or should be doing to sort of like rejuvenate or resuscitate some of the popularity of the sport?
So that's kind of like a myth, man. It's boxing's not like you hear boxing's dead all the time or dying. And last year, 2017, was a fantastic year for boxing. Had some huge fights. The Mayweather-McGregor fight was the highest or second highest pay-per-view buys ever for a fight. Although it's kind of a sideshow, but still counts. No, we had some great fights last year. 2018 shaping up to be fantastic for the heavyweight division, which is really important for casual fans. Right now we have Deontay Wilder here from the States and Anthony Joshua from London. Joshua's fighting Joseph Parker, who's another champion from New Zealand. Wilder's fighting Luis Ortiz, and those are like the four best fighters in the heavyweight division. They're all fighting each other, kind of working their way towards a real unification of the two best fighters. And it's alive and well, man. Like they just sold 70,000 seats in 2 days for the Anthony Joshua fight over in Wales.
So tell me about the Minnesota boxing scene. When people think about the Midwest, they think about Michigan when it comes to boxing. Or Pennsylvania. They don't think about Minnesota. So you're a Minnesotan. Tell me about the boxing experience here. So
right now the scene is small. It's a real small boxing community. We have knowledgeable fans, great fans that come out and support. We get pretty good numbers at our shows here. Grand Casino Hinckley, they do a lot of shows. My promoter, Seconds Out, Tony Gargelko, he does some shows downtown, some shows at some of the casinos around. It's not too alive and thriving right now. Hopefully with my title win, they'll bring some more attention to it and get some more kids in the gyms and get some more fighters out there. But Minnesota has a rich history, man. We've had a lot of good fighters. St. Paul used to be a boxing hub back in the early 1900s and 1920s, 30s, 40s. Had some fantastic champions here, and some of the best fighters of all time came from St. Paul. But right now, it's small. There's a knowledgeable fan base, but it's not Pennsylvania, it's not Las Vegas, it's not California.
So you play football most of your life, I'm guessing.
Yeah, football and baseball.
And then you walk on in college, and then you hurt your knee, you can't play anymore, and then you get into boxing later.
Yeah.
Is that the most atypical route? Like you think like boxing, like you start when you're 12, you go through like gold gloves, all this stuff. So how do you just walk into that?
You know, there's some guys that start late like I did and have some success going to success, but for the most part, like you said, all the top guys and the guys that I fought along the way, they're been in the gym since they're 6 years old and have 200, 300 amateur fights, and I had like 30 amateur fights, and it helped that I was an athlete. I was used to performing in front of people, and I'd been training, working out and stuff through football and baseball my whole life. So that was kind of made the transition easier, but it's been tough, man. I had to work my butt off to get where I'm at today, and I had a steeper learning curve than those guys did because they have way more experience than I have.
Well, they talk about this with like the NFL players now and even basketball players, and sometimes they find that it's better to play some other sports growing up rather than just focus on one thing. So you think like a background in football and baseball, just the different training methods and coordination that would go into something like hitting a baseball, for example, would go in to help you with boxing later on?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot with coordination, like just becoming a better athlete, a well-rounded athlete. In baseball, actually, that's one thing that really helped me with boxing because the weight transfers and when you're swinging a bat is similar to throwing a punch, and so that really helped me and allowed me to have a pretty good right hand because it's almost the same as swinging a bat.
How much does it suck to get used to getting hit in the head the first time?
Sucks more to get hit in the body. Getting in the head, get hit in the head is it's kind of like jars you a little bit, but getting hit in the body in the right spot, that hurts, man. That's why I like to punch to the body.
All right, so what's coming up next for you?
Right now we're in talks with a rematch with James DeGale. It sounds like it's going to be in April. They're trying to do it here in Minneapolis. If not in Minneapolis, then it would be in Las Vegas, I believe. But I'm just happy I don't got to go back to the UK. It's a long flight, man.
Well, it's a long flight. Yeah, I mean, people probably aren't rooting for you over there. How awesome would it be to fight in Minneapolis?
Well, it would be great, man. I'd have all my fans and friends and family be able to show up to the fight, and it's great for the economy when you fight here and stuff like that. So I'm a Minnesota guy, but I will say when I went over to the UK, I was expecting the fans to be a little bit more raucous, and they were. They're great boxing fans, but after the fight, they appreciated the effort that I put forward, and were fantastic to me.
All right. Well, thanks for joining the show today, man.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
All the best.
Caleb Truax, IBF Super Middleweight Champion of the World here on set. Stay tuned to DK Live. More Pat, more Tim, more guests coming up all day from Super Bowl Radio Row. All right, more Pat Mayo Experience coming to you from Radio Row here in the Mall of America in Minneapolis. Dave Hunt from HuntAuctions.com is here with some memorabilia.
Lots of stuff.
This right here. Tell me about this.
Well, one thing that we're really honored about, we've worked with NFL Auction for 10 years now at the Super Bowl, and you get some incredibly unique pieces that you can't get anywhere else, really. And this is a ball that was used in that historic Super Bowl 51 last year where Tom Brady and the Patriots came back. And this is one of the balls that they used on offense. You can see it's marked 51. It's got the Patriots logo.
Can I touch it?
You may. Absolutely.
Now I do have to ask you, did you fill this with air after the fact? Because it's pretty full.
It is a fine base or football that was used in the game and appears to be of all standards you'd want it to be.
Oh, okay. So there was no one out back kind of. Oh, it's cold out here.
Correct.
Well, watch out for the gas laws. I don't know about that.
Exactly. But and what's neat is you see, listen, everybody, all these collectibles, if you will, are in the eye of the beholder, right? I mean, it's what means something to you. But if you think about all the fans of the Patriots and Tom, and this is a football that literally he threw and was caught and played with in that game, and obviously with the comeback the way it ended up is a very valuable item now.
So you're making the rounds here today. Have you been down to like the 20,000 square foot Patriots area? Are people trying to like jump you for the ball?
We have not gotten it. We're going to have protection if we walk by there, that's for sure. We don't want any fumbles. None.
Yeah, that's true. Although I think a few of the Patriots might be in line for a few fumbles here this weekend.
Could be. Could be. We'll see.
They may or may not have been cursed or hexed. I don't know about that. But what's something like this going for right now?
Right now, the bidding right now currently is at $15,000 in the online bidding. It's expected to maybe be as high as $40,000 or $50,000.
Wow.
There's only been one other Patriots ball from the Super Bowl sold last year. NFL Auction sold that earlier this year, and that brought around $43,000. So we'll see. I mean, again, sort of the fun part about all these auction items is you don't know what they're going to bring and who's going to participate. But people really bid for this auction. They wait all year for it and bid from all over the world. We have bidders in different countries. They love football. They love the Super Bowl, and they want to get involved.
So you can go to HuntAuction.com for HuntAuctions.com for this, and NFLAuction.com. Or if you're here, you can go down to the NFL Experience and you can live bid there as well.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, even if you're not interested in actually bidding, there's lots of things that are affordable. Not just $10,000 and $20,000 and $30,000. There's many things that are a couple $100. But if you want to bid online, you can do that. You want to come down and see them. It's almost like a traveling museum each year. And there's things as early leather football helmets from the 1800s, ranging all the way up to programs and tickets, you name it.
So this is the coin toss coin?
This is Super Bowl 50. Obviously,
San Francisco.
Yep, obviously a historic one. A little bit warmer than this year.
A little bit.
I'll leave it at that. But a great piece. And this is the actual flip coin. This is the coin that was used. Again, the NFL kept this, and now it'll be in the NFL auction kept it, and now it'll be in the auction. And these always do well, just because it's just a moment that people remember. Maybe they were there. Maybe they watched it on TV.
Maybe they hate Cam Newton and want to celebrate him losing.
Exactly. But these usually bring $2,000 to $3,000, something like that when we've had them in the past.
Yeah, I mean, for a coin that has no monetary value, that's a lot.
It's not too bad. I would agree.
It's better than those like historic quarters.
Yeah.
So we got some jerseys here as well. So this is a game-worn Favre.
Yeah, these are some things that we got that right from Brett Favre. A portion of his collection will be in here, and some of those proceeds are going to his Favre for Hope Foundation.
Okay.
But what's neat about the vintage jerseys too, you can, oftentimes you can actually photo match them, so you see the actual staining from the game.
So you can go back and look at the game. You're like,
absolutely, yeah. We actually have a great photograph of Brett running off the field, and you can see it. I mean, you can match it exactly. So collectors like that because they can put it right on the field for authenticity purposes.
So Carson Wentz obviously not playing in the game, but he was. You say that people are lining up to buy Carson Wentz stuff?
Yeah, I mean, right now this is actually the highest dollar, one of the highest dollar pieces in the auction. It's already over $12,000.
Oh wow!
And, this came right from Carson, and a good portion of the proceeds are going to go to his Audience of One Foundation. So, what's really nice about this auction event is whether it comes from NFL auction or even the other parties that are consigning things, in some way, shape, or form, it benefits some sort of charitable foundation. NFL auction does, Salute to Service, breast cancer awareness, all kinds of different causes, and you get some great authenticated pieces as well.
What are some of the historic pieces? I was looking through the whole list of everything here.
Yeah, there's some wonderful things. I mean, Carl Eller, great Minnesota Vikings Hall of Famer, he's given us a few things. A game-worn jersey, his Pro Bowl helmet from the 60s, which is just so cool. It's got the crazing, the old rubber face guard that, you think about how much of an intimidating player he was back then. It just sort of takes you back to that era. There's things like Jerome Bettis, game-worn jersey, Peyton Manning. I mean, it goes on and on and on. All kinds of great items.
What do you think the most expensive item from the Super Bowl this year is going to end up being?
That's what's sort of fun about this each year is you don't know until the game plays out. I remember distinctly we were in the stadium last year working with the event, and it was at halftime, and what did we all think? This game's over. I mean, it was done. But those of us that sort of, you watch this closely and you follow it, not as a fan, but just sort of follow it, you could see what started to happen in the second half. And then, you got a little bit further on and everybody sort of knew, oh, this is going to happen. And so things like this football, where this would have been maybe a couple $1,000s, it's just to use football. Now it's tens of thousands of dollars because it relates to the most historic comeback in Super Bowl history.
So we got some more jerseys here. We got Nick Foles. I mean, he's starting in the Super Bowl, but not selling quite as much as Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and here's a perfect example where Carson obviously.
Nick Foles doesn't take very many hits.
He didn't in this game.
Carson Wentz has a dirty jersey.
Exactly.
Foles just standing there.
So I mean, this is what's really interesting. I mean, if Nick comes out and has a historic game, this jersey could be worth enormously more than what we thought it was. But the irony of this is the auction is on Saturday. So you want to talk about gambling, you might be able to buy this for a few $1,000s, whatever it is.
So this is better than betting on the game.
It probably is, because 2 days later, if he wins, this is probably going to be worth 5 times what it brought on Saturday.
All right, so you can either bet Carson or you can bet Nick Foles for Super Bowl MVP at like 3-1, or just buy his jersey and get 5-1 on
There you go.
That's the move. Now, this isn't from this. Diggs isn't from the game, is it? Oh.
No, goodness, it would be worth a lot of money. Yeah,
he took quite a beating in this one too. I bet you Vikings fans are lining up. Diggs has to be a hero around here.
Yeah, it's look, it was a very rough week for them. But the thing is, and this isn't just saying it, they had a great season. Nobody expected them to be where they were, and that catch is something that no matter what happens will always be remembered. So we've noticed it at the NFL Experience all week. There's been so much interest in just the photographs of him catching it, signed by him. And this is a jersey that came, again, right from NFL auction, used during this season. So as much as it's been a little bit of a bittersweet week for Vikings fans, they tend to are sort of now embracing the fact that it's here. And they're trying to ignore all the Eagles fans that are coming out here. That's going to be difficult to do, but it is. It's a neat piece and a lot of fun.
So how long have you been running the auction?
Well, this is our 10th year doing it with them. And our goal sort of initially was not only to further the proceeds for NFL auction charities, sort of to bring the best of the vintage world, if you will, and meet with the best of the modern pieces. And it's really worked. It's become the preeminent football auction in the country for good reason. I mean, obviously, that's the Super Bowl.
Do you have a favorite piece that you've brought through over the years?
Yeah, I do. I remember it well. The steel curtain, we all know about the steel curtain defense of the Steelers in the 70s. We got a call saying that they had the curtain. And I said, what do you mean? I'm the guy. I'm the one that made the curtain. I said, well, what is it? He said, literally, it's 3 shower curtain liners that I bought back then. I stitched them together and I hand-painted it. And sure enough, I mean, we went to the NFL Films Archive, and I mean, I don't mean this is one of them. It is the one. It's the one where you see the guys running out of the tunnel, and you see it up on the – it was it. And so we put it in, and I mean, you can imagine the line of people to take their photograph with it was just incredible. and it ended up bringing over $60,000 in the auction. And if you think of it, I'm positive that is a world record for a shower curtain. I'm sure of it. So that's sort of the fun part about this. Yes, there's money involved, and it's a business, and there's charitable parts, but the history behind it, just seeing that, being able to hold that and seeing what that meant to Steelers fans, I mean, they just lined up forever to take pictures with it.
Do you ever do like a live auction?
Yeah, it is actually a live auction at the NFL Experience. So I should mention that if you're in town, even if you don't want to bid, you can come out and watch all these things being sold. You can bid interactively online during the auction all over the world.
If I show up, do I get one of the paddles?
You will get a paddle. We will assign you your lucky number, and you can sit there and wave away.
I might have to do it just for the paddle experience. That seems like a lot of fun.
As long as the station or you or somebody qualifies to pay the bill, you can bid as much as you want.
You ask DraftKings if they can pay for it. I will not be able to afford any of these items, but they will. I mean,
no
they
problem.
got money.
No problem. Yeah, it's fun. It's neat to see it, and you get some battles. We had a couple of them last year. We had Rudy Rudiger's pieces. We had the actual helmet and the jersey he wore when he was carried off the field at Notre Dame. And he played one game. That was it. And they brought just under $250,000 for the pair. So, I mean, again, you talk about emotion. That's a person that never played professional football. Played one game, but it's such an iconic moment in the history of sort of.
And Notre Dame fans have lost their minds, too, so that helps.
That a little bit as well.
Maybe you have to give the money back to them because they don't know what they're doing.
But yeah, it's always interesting and gets exciting, and there's lots of bidding wars. There's a lot of emotion in it too. You get Eagles fans versus Patriots fans. We always get them stoked up to see which one's going to bid more for their jerseys, and get on the other team. And it's fun.
Do you ever get are there any Eagles fans that are going to buy Patriots gear just to destroy it in front of Patriots fans? Does that ever happen?
Listen, we're based in Philadelphia, so
okay.
This is business. We're just as happy to sell Patriots, Eagles, Vikings, any of it. But we'll just leave it at that.
All right. Dave Hunt, huntauctions.com. You can
Pleasure.
go on there right now and check out all the memorabilia that's up there. You can also do it at the NFL Experience in downtown Minneapolis for the live auction.
Yep.
And you can do the live bidding at NFLauction.com as well.
Yep, it'll link you right over.
All right. So, listen, if you want to spend some cash on some memorabilia, there's some good stuff. Get on it. I'm Pat Mayo. We'll see you in a bit.